Hello, hello, hello. Excited. I'm very, very excited to see everyone. Welcome to our special edition for International Women's Day, which happens to be this Saturday, March 8th. And I have a special guest of panelists today. I'm very excited to have you all here. So before we get started, let me just do a round robin and one, say thank you for all of you for coming, all those looking online who will watch later. But let me say, this is a group of women that I'm excited to share with my LinkedIn audience. They are amazing in all the different respects and different spaces and regulation, compliance, and learning design, notaries, and like all the things in the middle. And I love this group here. So as we go, maybe I'll start with Alicia. I want to know, can you give us a brief intro and background?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. So I'm Alicia Williams, AW Notary Service. Offer a plethora of different services of notary, estate planning, signings, loan signings, apostille services. I've been in business for about 30 years as a notary and happy to be here.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Okay, next up we have Latrice Williams.
First, let me just say, I am like so excited to be here, like right on the heels of International Women's Day. This is a great discussion that I'm like so excited to have. Anyway, I'm Latrice Williams, and I have like a number of years. I won't say how many, but we'll just say a number of years in the regulatory compliance quality space, and I'm so excited to talk about all things AI as it relates to that.
I love that. I love that. And last we have Rebecca Almirong. Okay, learning and design. Let us know a little bit about yourself.
So, hello everyone, and thank you, Crystal, for this opportunity to join this panel of amazing women to share our journey as women in the business of technology, or how technology might have influenced some of our decisions. I always tell people, do you wonder how people learn how to do their jobs once they already have the job? Well, that's what corporate learning and development pretty much does, is gets folks kind of as the job changes. So I have over 20 years of learning and development experience. I started in tech and am now in the space of talent solutions. So very excited to be here. But learning, being a lifelong learner, being able to impart that knowledge and leave that legacy of learning onto others has been an extreme passion of mine over the years, and I've been blessed to be able to continue it throughout my career.
I love that. I love that. And just thinking about everyone we have here today, it's the entire group here. So one of the questions I want to start with before we even dive into technology, because I love that topic. For International Women's Day, I know you all have comments, but is there a particular story of an instance when you had either a woman leader or mentor, or even from your childhood that kind of inspired you and even has impact on your work today?
I'll jump in. I'll go first. Coming from that tech space, I would say one of the best leaders I had was early on when I started kind of developing in the space of learning and
Mm,
development. It was really around that mid 90s when people didn't know how to leverage technology into the internal operations of an organization. And at that time, I had a very strong leader who believed in me outside of the other role that I was doing and kind of fostered that for me. And it has been amazing to have that opportunity to be able to work with a woman like that. It was at the organization I was at was Myers Nave. They're a Bay
nice.
Area law firm and they're an amazing group. And they had a large impact on where I am today.
I love that support championship. I love that. Who wants to go next? This is good.
I'll dive in. I know this probably will sound really cliche, but I'm just going to have to say that my mother, she has
Mhm.
really kind of been the cornerstone and the anchoring to just my journey and my career, watching her as a single parent, not a story that's uncommon, a single parent of three little girls. And I've watched her kind of forge her way, create her own path in spite of obstacles, and really take her career by the horns, if you will, and navigate through that. So I've kind of taken that same approach in life. She really had this mantra about just defining your own success and not
Mm,
allowing your circumstances or anybody else's idea of how your outcome should be the final say. So I would really have to say that my mother, when we think of International Women's Day, she's the greatest.
I love that. I love that. Beyond your circumstances. I love that. Elisa, you're last. What you
I
have for
am.
us?
That was great, Latrice. It's beyond your circumstances for sure. I was corporate. I was an
Mm,
escrow. I too was regulatory compliance and an escrow officer. But I needed to try to navigate being a businesswoman and a mom. And believe it or not, my the one who gave me the biggest push was my county manager. She said, "Alicia, you can still do this and raise a family." And she said, "You have what it takes to start." I kind of came to her and like I need to start my own business. I need to be there with my family, with my kids. And we adopted our youngest daughter 12 years ago. And she gave me the biggest push. She said, "The biggest fear is just not doing it. Get out there and do it, and
Mm.
you'll land on your feet." She's like, "You don't want to have regrets not starting it." She gave me the support, all of the support that I needed. I can still come to her to this day, and she's been the biggest push to where I'm at right now.
man, I love that. And just to dovetail into that conversation, you mentioned your youngest daughter. I know that we talk about technology and we're getting into the spaces we're in, but how has that changed for you on the parent side? I mean, we have AI, you have all the apps and all the digital devices and trackers. What does that do differently for you just in that space as a mom?
As a space as a mom, it really, as Rebecca said, it's becoming a lifelong learner because
Mhm.
AI and technology is changing daily, if not hourly. So just trying to stay on it and just educating myself because there's always something new every single day that comes out. You think you're above it and you think you got it, and then they bring something else to you. So really just talking and not talking with my daughter and sharing, what is this? Do you know what this means? Just that safety. You had a panelist not too long ago, Marquise, and just knowing,
Mhm.
that online safety web, I guess you would say, and just really trying to educate myself and my children as much as I can.
No, I love that. And for even on the personal tip for all of us in terms of technology, how has it changed just their immediate lifestyle?
I guess I can jump in on that. It's changed it's pre-COVID and post-COVID.
I think
Pre-COVID.
that's a really good question. Oh,
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I think we had a little drag. I'll finish. Uh, Technology's definitely changed my industry post COVID, um, we didn't really have a lot of the technology tools that we have readily available at us to help navigate um, everything that we do as an
Mhm.
entrepreneur, especially in the notary world. It really was a paper based industry pre COVID. And post COVID, it's just opened up the world to technology in my industry specifically.
Nice, nice. And then I'll pass it back to Latrice. I know you were saying something. Hopefully, you can hear me on this one. How's it changed for you personally?
Yeah, sort of revolutionized one, the way I do life, right? And the way that I go about business, right? Or the way that you handle business in your day to day. Just kind of like looking down, looking in the lens of just my work life. I can recall, and I've been in the compliance regulatory space for many, many years. But thinking back how we started, you pull out that long rack of files, the old filing system, the metal drawers, and you just see file after file after file after file. And turning things around in real time was almost virtually impossible, right?
Mhm.
You had to thumb through things, you had labels, you were creating all this stuff. But of AI, you can have things in a matter of minutes or seconds, if you will. It cuts down paperwork or time with it, whether that's personal or whether that's more room to do things throughout your day and your work life. So it's really revolutionized, the way that the way that I think for sure, giving me back more time and allowing my mind the opportunity just to explore even greater things. So that's what I'll say.
Nice. The opportunity to explore more things, giving your time back. I'm going to pass this one to Rebecca because this is a question on, they both mentioned changing technology from paper, file cabinets, actually, really trekking it out, pencil pushing, as someone would tell you. And now we have this huge skills jump, right? And maybe I'll focus on Rebecca here, like, because you're in the space of talent management and learning and development. So this has to be top of mind for you.
Yeah, so I would say, and then also on the leadership side, I'd love to just also speak a little bit about that. I would say probably one of the biggest changes is, as a leader from the team's perspective, is AI going to replace my job? So a
Mm.
phrase that I love to use all the time in our space, especially when it comes to designers who are artists and are particular about their work, to be able to say, I'm not looking for you to rely on AI, but let's leverage it. Let's leverage it where it makes sense. So not reliance, but leverage. So that as a leader, especially a leader of creatives, kind of having to be able to make that an important way. However, when it comes to becoming like more and more organizations, I believe I read in Gartner last month, over 90% of organizations are looking to go skills based because of AI. It'll be a lot easier to job profile, look at skills development, see where the gaps are. And AI can definitely help in that space. But what I tell people when it comes to talent is don't, again, that leverage versus reliance, don't rely on AI so heavily that you're not also considering the person. Where is this
Mm.
person at in the moment of their life, in the journey of their career? And even though you're looking at, the gaps, also consider the whole person. And that's something, that definitely as a woman in leadership, I never want to stray away from, is being able to have that balance of human touch, and the AI kind of supports the outcome of some of the decisions on providing guidance for goals. And I like to use the term reskilling rather than upskilling, so just kind of
Mhm.
reskilling where you are in your profession.
I like the reskilling, upskilling, and the human element. It sounds like a human element of data storytelling, right? You told me earlier.
Absolutely.
Okay, I love that. And then on the flip side, I know Latrice, you have a comment on this one, which is from your perspective, you want less human elements and more just the data because you're in regulation and compliance for the water district. Is that correct?
Yeah, so oftentimes when you're dealing in the public sector, dealing with utilities or anything compliance related, we're looking for cold, hard facts. What are the
Mhm.
facts? Very black and white, this or that, right? That's what we're looking for. And so, we're looking for, while we can leverage AI, and we in many instances do, we're looking for the cold hard facts, and AI can tell the story about the cold hard facts, but on its face it may not represent exactly what it is. So we do rely on AI, but we're looking for something very, very, very specific, whether it's this or whether it's that. And of course, it's not true for looking at a utility or a municipality holistically, because you operations, in those instances, those different disciplines can heavily rely on using AI technology when you're talking about telling stories to your customers in a way that's relatable. AI can certainly help you with that, but in some instances we don't need it to be as dynamic. We need it to be very this or that.
Yes, I like how you mentioned some instances we don't need it to be as dynamic. We need this or that, very black and white, very clear. And there's some things that AI can probably excel in. And one of the things I know, Alicia, you and I are on the entrepreneur track. There's so many new tools for you to do this, you do that. From your perspective, like you said, having left the count, like having moved from corporate into your own space as a notary expert, what have you used in technology that's really helped you, and what has been like, not worth it?
Oh gosh. Just the way I run my day-to-day life, both personal and business, using the AI calendars, the tools, content. Um, uh, there's so much. I'm sorry, I'm a little tongue-tied because there's just so much that it's really changed just the way that I view my day-to-day, the way I do my billing, the way I do my CRMs,
Mm.
the way that I connect with my clients. I can go in there and I can schedule an email that's a blast email to all of my clients at one time. I can schedule it to go out at 10 o'clock in the morning or set it out on Friday. Whereas before I was manually doing that or doing a BCC and emailing one by one by one. So that, I mean, I'm buying back my time being able to utilize technology, especially through AI. Some of the things that it can't, to Latrice's point, it does help me as an entrepreneur, but in the notary realm, I still have to have that personal contact. So it's kind of
Mm.
dovetailing both what Rebecca and Latrice said, using that, this or that, or I actually have to be upfront and personal. So I can't necessarily leverage some of the technology, but being able to just follow up and, following up with a customer, are they still looking or needing my services? And, so
Mm.
it's been great.
I love how you said that. Sometimes it's this or that, or sometimes it's that personal human touch. And I know we actually have on the line a senior director in learning development. From your perspective, what does everyone need to learn, Rebecca? Like, what does everyone need to learn to do?
Right. And that's, and that's where kind of that, like I was talking earlier about that balance, that's where that balance comes in. However, I think everyone should learn how to leverage AI for what works best for them. For some folks, it's going to be, I want to leverage AI to be my personal assistant to help me manage my calendar. So where I usually start is saying, when you think of your areas of opportunity as whether it's a professional in a corporate environment or as an entrepreneur, where do I feel I can have some help that I'm not
Mm.
considering? So, for example, if I'm heading into a highly, technical meeting with other senior leaders in the tech space, I might not know the answers to different things, or I might not be aware of different things. So I might use AI to just say, I'm going into this meeting about this topic. Here's the audience. Here's the speakers. Here's the audience. What should I know as a senior leader in learning and development before I head in here? And what kind of questions might I consider as I'm heading in? So it saves me that time of having to, rebrief everything, or I could have it look at my notes from before. So I always tell folks, think of how, in smaller terms, how could you use it to be more efficient and effective? And then you can start going out from there. How can I use it within my role? And then as you start to use it within your role, then how can I share it with either someone who's horizontally across from me in my role? How can I share it with others like entrepreneurs? How can I then get that knowledge out so that it kind of becomes part of the new culture and the way we do the role? And that frees up more time for other areas of responsibility.
Man, I love that. How can it help me personally? And I know, Latrice, you've been in the water space or the compliance regulatory space since the early 2000s. We talked about this. Given what Rebecca just said, right? How do you think your role is changing? It's been about 20 years. Like, what's happening for you?
Yeah, like I was mentioning earlier, like there's been an evolution, right? We've moved away from the file cabinets. We've moved away from a lot of the, paper pushing, going to the post office and getting stamps. So hopefully some of y'all still remember, we used to go get stamps. You go down, can I get a book of stamps? That's a lot of that is done away with, sending stuff out. And so it's really just kind of changed, not just the way that we've kind of manually done things from day to day, but even just the thinking, right? It's been a shift in the way that we even think about compliance, think about data, think about how we manage data, right? Thinking about how we actually come to conclusions based on the data that we have. And so it's been a major shift. Like, back letters to people, you were spending time, coming up with content, sending out emails, waiting for responses. So it's been a complete shifting away from that. And we're talking about more of, like I was saying before, turning things around in a matter of minutes. You can literally compile a whole report about, your data almost in a matter of minutes, of which we weren't seeing those type of numbers,
Mhm.
back in the day. But today we see that. And, like Rebecca mentioned, and I mentioned before, it really, it freed up a lot of time to really look more exploratorily into the data that we have, or how can we, refine our processes. So if anything, it just gave us back a ton of time.
Man, giving you back time, and Elisa, you mentioned this earlier, buying back your time. I'm going to ask you because this is getting started Thursday, and people know I like to give them actual things to do. I always boast on Claude, my personal favorite ChatGPT. But I'm just going to go around robin. What is your personal favorite GPT? The chat friend that you have that you use the most. I'm going to start with Elisa. Your face says I don't know. So, Elisa, what's your favorite chat friend?
I just use ChatGPT.
Okay. Okay. That's a classic.
Yeah, it's a classic. There's a couple, we have Notary Gadget in our specific industry. So we use that in the notary world. It's called Notary Gadget, which is very helpful, knowing the different laws and regulations from state to state. So I have had to go on there and use that, but ChatGPT.
Okay. ChatGPT. Rebecca, what's your favorite
Yep,
chat friend?
I am an open AI user, and I prefer the audio, like the conversation.
Hmm.
And I turn it on, hey,
Yeah.
can you tell me some of the things I asked you about yesterday? Can you remind me what, maybe last week, some trends that I was looking at? Can you pull up the ones for this week? So as I mentioned before, I treat it like a personal assistant. I have a friend that teases me. She's like, "You're a Chat GPT boyfriend." And I'm like, "That's right." And I love that you can modify the voice. You
Hmm.
could give it whatever kind of persona that you want it to have, and that it kind of learns your behavior over time. And I also prefer, as kind of someone who creates a lot of presentations or reviews a lot of presentations, its integration with Canva, which I think is great.
Ooh, love
Not
the
that I'm
camper
selling
integration.
OpenAI or I have, any monetary gain to that, but that's the add-in, the other GPT add-ins that it has are, ahead of some of the others.
Now, have you tried the call function when you call 1-800 chat GPT? Have you called
I
them
have
before?
not.
You can
See, now
call them.
I
It's a
have some
15
homework
minute.
to do today.
Yeah, give them a call. If you're on the road and you need it, right? And no internet for some reason. Okay. Well, last, Latrice, what's your favorite chat friend?
So, favorite is really heavy. It's really heavy, but I'll say, in this season of my life, chat GPT is at my fingertips constantly. And then you might find this one a little controversial, or your listeners, but I've been, DeepSeek is, always in my
Okay.
periphery, you might find that to be a little controversial, but I'm trying to see, who has the better product. I don't know. But
You know,
DeepSeek is not out of my line of sight.
okay, you diving deep. You diving deep into the chat space. I mean, to be honest, big three, Claude, ChatGPT, or even Gemini, but DeepSeek is that like underdog that's just
Right.
bootstrapping his whole life. That's fantastic. Okay,
I
last.
don't know. They made some waves not long ago. Really kind of shifted, shook the table, if you will.
It did shake the table. And what I like, this is the next bit I'll have, because I know OpenAI, I think, dropped a $20,000 a month subscription to an agent that they're possibly rolling out or might be rolling out. So this the last question for the group, because this kind of affects everyone. If we've heard of the AI agent space, now you talk about personal assistants and the chat marketing. You talked about being able to produce content, like all that can happen. But what if you just told it to do it and all day it just worked for you? Right? It just agently, like
Mm.
it actually sent out the email, it picked up the phone, it scheduled the calendar invite, and you didn't have to prompt it. This AI agent space. How does that make you feel? The thought of something doing it now for you. What's the feeling?
Hmm.
I'll jump in on
So
that.
my immediate feeling, if you will, my immediate off the cuff feeling is, okay, interesting. I feel excited,
Yeah.
but also a little apprehensive. And here's why, right? One, at what point does it stop, right? It's you ask the question, okay, how far is too far, how much is too much? Do we when do we draw the line? So those are some of the kind of the initial kind of thoughts, in addition to the excitement, being intrigued, that are rolling around, because sometimes I fear heavy reliance. You feel like that you are absolved from doing anything, right? And it's making these assumptions about your life that may or may not be true, making assumptions about what it is that you need to do, don't need to do, that could have a direct impact on someone else. So those are kind of my just initial. I haven't like really pulled it all together, but just at the thought of it, those are some of the things that I'm thinking about.
Okay, I like
I'll come
that take.
back to it.
I like that take. I know, Alicia, you almost jumped in there. What are you feeling?
She actually kind of pulled the words out of my mouth.
Okay.
I'm apprehensive because I don't want to be solely reliant. I'm kind of a control freak too, so I want to have that touch to it. But to that point, being reliant on it, how accurate is it really? We've kind of had this situation where my daughter was doing a book report and she had two book reports due at the same time. She read both of the books, but she had ChatGPT do one. And some of the sources that they cited were incorrect.
Mhm.
So just and it was a good lesson. She didn't turn it in or anything. We caught it, but it was a good lesson for her to realize. No, you have to put in your own work. Yes, it's a
Mhm.
tool. It's a tool, but it's not going to take over your life. You actually have to put in your own work. So I don't. I'm a little more apprehensive of becoming solely reliant on it.
Nice. I mean, I understand that. And lastly, Rebecca, now to me, this question for you should be top of mind for your industry, right? Agents could change the game. So, what's your take on it?
Now, my take on it is it's kind of a split. I'll say I have a split opinion. Some of it is, again, going back to that balance. So, although it could be great at, as I mentioned before, finding gaps, matching people to roles and things like that, it can't have an interview. It
Hmm.
can't have that connection. It can't do a performance management conversation. It can't really give you feedback that, again, considers the whole person. So to be able to provide information for someone to have a better conversation, someone to prep and have an interview, be able to see, are you the right match for this team connection outside of just what the matches is on paper, or what a an AI tool might be matching up. And so that's critical, that that client, you know, leader relationship, that feedback space. Now, also, if you would have told me 20 years ago I would be turning on my lights, not using my hands, I would have said, no, never. What's the big deal with flipping on the lights? I do it every day now. I have a timed where it times for different light mood changes, preparing me to go to bed. So again, keeping that balance in mind, because the one thing that I think COVID has already strained us from is the personal element. from DoorDash to being able to eat alone at home to, hybrid remote work. We are, we've lost some of that connection. And what is that going to look like for the next generation and the generation after that? So, as a person who loves people and loves the human element, I would say anything related to that, no, but anything
Mm.
to help you get to the right person, yes.
Nice, nice. Well,
Can I just add to, can I add
yeah.
to a comment, Crystal? Just, it kind of provoked me listening to Rebecca as well as listening to Alicia. First, I'll start with something that Alicia said that really kind of just stuck out in my mind. And it was specific to your daughter and the book reports and the inconsistencies that were there. And one thing that, to your point with, AI and these different technologies, one thing that often comes to my mind and, I never kind of let out of sight is, when you have these moments where these different systems or different models are coming up with these hallucinations or these facts, if you will. And then people who aren't, as savvy enough to care, maybe they know how to use the system, but they don't know how to spot or know that they should go back and validate the data, right? So you have these hallucinations almost becoming points of facts in our history,
Mm.
right? Because it's out there kind of, in the open space for consumption and hasn't really been validated. So now it's you dispute it, but almost becomes a relevant fact and it's not even true. So that's one thing that I constantly think about. And then thinking about your comment, Rebecca, I'm just kind of thinking about it now. It's like how the future, the present really almost informs the future. I can think back, to the clap on, the clap on, clap off back in the day. Now you're saying we're experiencing, you don't have to come in. You say, hey, Alexa, turn on the lights, do this and do that. It's that back then informed the future that we experience today. So thinking about this, the AI agent, AI tools, it's like it's here, now, okay, how is this going to inform our future self in the space that we're going to be operating in? So I just wanted to highlight those 2 points. I thought they were very good.
No, that was excellent. Excellent. And as we wrap up, if you want to follow Latrice for more of that insight and also compliance in the regulation space in the water district, follow her on LinkedIn, Latrice Williams. She's on LinkedIn. I think we can probably tag her at some point inside of this stream. That's a beautiful statement. I want to thank all the panels. Latrice, thank you for that. Rebecca, just like you said, having the actual human element. I know you're going to be doing a panel at the next with a corporate learning network event. You're going to be a panelist there talking about data storytelling. Okay.
That's right.
Where's that hosted? Is that going to be live,
It's in Los
virtual?
Angeles. It's in Los Angeles, and we have a link for that. I'll provide a link for that.
Okay, perfect. So live in Los Angeles, want to talk to Rebecca, hit her up because data storytelling, the human element, talent management, such a big deal. And then lastly, Alicia, thank you for coming and adding the impact and insight on not only AI technology in the workplace, also in your actual business and in your family. And if someone wants to reach you, I think it's AMW Notary, AMW Notary at Gmail, right?
You got it.
Okay, and anything else you want to talk to her about, she's a notary expert, y'all. So if you need something notarized, documented, talk to her about it. And as you can see, she's also tech forward. So this has been a great conversation. Excellent, excellent. I loved having all of you on. And to everyone out there, like you said, you see everyone here had their favorite chats that they work with. Some of us were going deeper with some elements. I'm still a little iffy on that one there. But other than that, I think we're going to sign off for today. And until next time, y'all, we'll talk later.
Thank you, Crystal.
You're welcome. Welcome.